while we've been walking the gardens and seeing all this abundance and variety of plants and food that is being grown, you commented to me about the sonic bloom.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I would like to know, can you tell me more about that?
Sonic bloom was a process for growing plants developed by a friend of mine named Dan Carlson. Mm-hmm. And actually, the story is quite interesting. Dan was a biker, and he was an alcoholic, he was a drug addict, he was, as he put it, a mess. And he went off to Korea with the Korean War and was up on the demilitarized zone, and this was his second tour of duty there, and one day a Korean woman came onto the base while he was on duty, and she was carrying a baby. Mm-hmm. And as he watched, a 2-ton army truck started to back up, and right in front of him, she threw her baby under the rear wheels of this 2-ton army truck. And he suddenly realized, as she was in the process of doing this, he suddenly realized what she was about to do, and he threw himself at her to try to knock her out of the way. Their eyes met, and he suddenly realized why she was doing this. It was because she had more children back home, and they were hungry, and she was wanting to make the army responsible so they would have to pay her money so that she could feed her family. And in that moment that their eyes met, and he realized this, he was a changed man. He made a decision. He was going to help feed the world. He came back home a few weeks later, finishing up his tour of duty, and he was an absolutely different person. And he went back to school, and he started studying about agriculture. And he had to clean up his whole life because he couldn't do drugs and alcohol the way he'd been doing things. He just really cleaned up his life. He didn't even drink coffee at that point. And one day he was in the library, and he was thinking about how things work. And he had the thought, maybe he had just learned a very interesting fact, that the warblers, the birds that have this beautiful song, all sing in a very narrow frequency bandwidth. And he had the thought that maybe when these warblers come back in the spring to the northern hemisphere, their singing in this frequency bandwidth helps to break dormancy of the plants. And so he started experimenting. He created a device that had that frequency, and then he created a product called Sonic Bloom, a liquid that he would spray on the plants. He would play this frequency of sound to the plants, and he found that the stomata, these little, it's Greek that means little mouths, mm-hmm. that on the underside of the leaves, it causes these stomata to open up. And then the plants take in very large amounts of nutrients that are sprayed on. They become what's called foliar feeders. So he, through a series of circumstances, I met Dan, and I got to see his first experimental garden out in Minneapolis, in the Minneapolis area. And that fall, he had, I think, 563 tomatoes on one bush. And I ate a couple of the tomatoes. They were absolutely amazing flavor. And so he took the seeds from the first tomatoes, and then he used those to grow the next round of plants. The last time I think I spoke with him, he said he was up to over 2,000 tomatoes on one bush. And his idea was that if we used this, we could reforest the earth with big old trees, because they grow much faster with Sonic Bloom, and that we could grow enough food to feed the world. Well, there are other products out there as well, and I believe that it's taking all this knowledge about growing things in ways that work with nature, that we can create like a whole new civilization that's based on organic food and sustainable living, taking care of the earth, reforesting much of the earth. There are people who talk about these things called food forests, and I think it's a brilliant idea. I think that we need to really look at how do we live with each other, and how do we live with nature, with the biosphere. I did want to pick up one thing I said earlier. I said that when the four great revolutions of recent history, in addition to new people, a new story, a new game, you also have new toys or new tools and technologies, like the internet is one for our times, and sonic boom would be another example. And then the final one is new money. There's a whole new system of money that was created in each of those revolutions. And I think that that's a piece that we need to, all of us, talk about, is how do we redesign the way we do money. Because if you look around, a lot of people who've got really good ideas don't have very much money. And the people who've done very well in the caterpillar civilization aren't particularly, at this point, many of them have not yet awakened, and they don't realize that the way they've been using their money has been killing the earth rather than contributing to a wonderful rebirth in beauty and vitality. So maybe it's time for us to think about a new money system or a new way of doing exchanges, which can be greatly facilitated also by the internet. I'm in the final stages of a book called Money, Power, and Purpose. And so I can send you information about that, Megumi, when that's done.
What is your vision for a new money system?
That's too long to go into here,
Okay.
but I do have quite a lot of rather different ideas, and I look forward to sharing with you and your viewers.
Yes.
So,
If that is possible, if you had one message to humanity at this point, what would it be? One message.
let's grow in our capacity to love one another, and in our capacity to do good and create beauty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Megumi.